What's up, gamers? It's Absurd here, and today I want to discuss a topic that the community voted for: capitalist dystopia in the context of Armored Core. Capitalism and corporate feudalism have been major elements of every Armored Core game to a varying degree, but in this video I want to restrict the context to Armored Core 4 and 4 Answer, as the plot in these games shows us the result of completely unregulated capitalism. The first, third, and fifth generation games all contain some means of AI influence, control, or regulation of the corporations, and second gen features a governmental regulatory body. The fourth generation of games is the only generation in which we see a pure and unregulated capitalist dystopia. Therefore, I'll be restricting the context of this discussion mainly to these games in the interest of time, though the ideas are applicable to the entire franchise, including, I expect, the upcoming Armored Core 6. But let's start with some terminology to create a framework for discussing the ideas in these games. Capitalism is an economic system in which the means of production, land, labor, and capital, are owned by private parties who use those means for the production of goods and services to derive a personal profit. The obvious example is the United States economy, in which corporations owned by an elite few capitalize off the nation's labor and natural resources to accumulate personal wealth. A dystopia is a hypothetical society in which the populace suffers miserable lives, typically by oppression from a ruling body or apocalypse due to the mismanagement of that ruling body's power. Popular examples of dystopia would be the Hunger Games, the Fallout franchise, or The Handmaid's Tale, though there are countless examples across fictional mediums. Please share your favorite dystopia in the comments below. A capitalist dystopia is one in which unchecked capitalism leads to the oppression of the populace by a wealth gap or an apocalypse via environmental disaster or private war. Examples of this more specific type of dystopia would be Squid Game, Cyberpunk 2077, or Pixar's WALL-E. One of the key themes in a dystopia, including the previous examples, is the illusion of freedom. It might seem like people are free and happy when in reality they are chained by pacifying drugs and media, lack of upward mobility in the socio-economic system, or by their reliance on technology. Armored Core confronts players with this illusion in all of its games. While you have agency to make decisions throughout the game with selecting missions, aligning with certain corporations, or even with build customization, the end result is always the same. Your choices do not affect the world, they only have a limited effect on your experience in the world. This isn't unique to Armored Core. Many games, especially open world RPGs that offer you choices, put constraints on the outcomes of that freedom. It's an inherent part of games having programmed outcomes. You can't get an ending that the devs didn't program. However, games like Fallout New Vegas offer branching story paths with different endings depending on your choices. Your choices determine which faction, if any, wins in the end. Now you might be thinking, but Armored Core 4 Answer has branching story paths with different endings you can choose. And on the surface you would be right, but let's take a deeper look. Be warned that the rest of this video contains necessary spoilers for the plot of Armored Core 4 and 4 Answer, though I will minimize them as much as I can. Get ready for a lore dump. Armored Core 4's capitalist dystopia begins before the game, with the National Dismantlement War. An explosion of population growth and a mismanagement of resources by the governments led to a food shortage and wage gaps, causing severe civil unrest. With people losing faith in the government to provide for them, many began to rebel and riot against the government, while others sought safety from the fighting under the protection of the corporations and their private armies. The major corporations saw this as an opportunity to unleash their, until now, hidden weapons called Next, towering humanoid robots piloted by Lynx. machines that outmatched all other military technology, including MTs and normals, due to their Kojima technology and the AMS system that linked the pilot's nerves into the armored core for greater control and performance. The corporations took advantage of the failing governments and frightened populace by waging the National Dismantlement War, using their necks to deal a death blow to the governments and seize control of their resources in less than a month. The victorious corporations formed a new system, the Pax Economica, in which citizens declaring loyalty to a corporation would be guaranteed food and survival. This system of economic peace effectively enslaved humanity by organizing them into corporate colonies and withholding resources from their pledged servants to secure control without fear of reprisal. This is classic capitalist dystopia, with the unchecked corporations having free rein to exploit the people for labor to fuel their war machine. This peace would soon dissolve as corporations would fund anti-establishment groups to wage war on their rivals and eventually declare open hostilities, leading to the Lynx War, a war in which several corporations dissolved, many colonies were destroyed, and the rampant use of Kojima-powered nexts had irradiated much of the planet. The remaining corporations reorganized into the League of Ruling Corporations and established Collard, a mercenary faction of Next pilots who were no longer explicitly sponsored by a single corporation and could mediate disputes between the corporations. While that seems like a step in the right direction, the real issue at hand was the environmental devastation from the previous war and its Kojima radiation. It's at this point that the capitalist dystopia is in full effect. Environmental disaster and war, due to corporate greed, threatens the health of the planet and its populations. The answer of the LRC, led by Omer Science, is to create floating cradles for people to inhabit the skies above the toxic radiation on the surface. The catch is that these cradles are powered by the very Kojima radiation that caused the disaster in the first place. Furthermore, once the corporate elite have all found new homes in the cradles, the corporations claim they cannot build the cradles efficiently enough to house all of humanity, and leave vast populations to suffer on the surface. This, of course, is a lie, because at the same time as the cradles were being developed, the corporations were manufacturing massive mobile military stations called arms forts that demanded resources which could have been allocated to cradle production. The arms forts were the corporate answer to the Lynxes and their necks, who after the Lynx War could not be trusted to comply with the plans of the corporations. The final piece of this puzzle is the closed plan, developed before the National Dismantlement War by the now defunct Ray Leonard Corporation. It was a plan to reach and explore outer space as the next frontier, but the plan was blocked by competing corporations who established a blockade of weaponized satellites in orbit to prevent any competitor from being the first into space. This plan would be revitalized in Armored Core 4 Answer by a rogue group of Necks called Orca, who did not see the cradles as a sustainable answer to the Kojima radiation on the surface. Their plan was to redirect the power from the cradles to anti-satellite cannons that could destroy the orbital blockade and open the way to space and a future on a new planet, unmarred by years of war and radiation. The player gets a choice whether to support the cradles or the closed plan, and surface level reading makes you feel like your choice matters, but in reality, the leader of Orca, Maximilian Thermidor, is a puppet for Omer Science Technology, the leader of the LRC, who secretly wants to accomplish the closed plan themselves with Orca as their scapegoat. So whether we support the corporations or actively fight against them, the result is the same. Our answer doesn't matter. The corporations win. We are presented with the illusion of a choice. Or are we? There is a third option in which we can ally with a rogue Orca Lynx, Old King, who sees that Orca is a puppet for the corporation. Old King hires us to indiscriminately kill the corporate elite by destroying the cradles. It's an evil plan, albeit an effective one, for somebody disgruntled by all this corporate manipulation. But even this answer, in which we seemingly give the finger to the corporations and choose our own path, despite its moral toll, is an illusion. Omer Science Technology kept their support of the closed plan secret for a reason. Competition. They want to be the first into the new frontier, and indiscriminate destruction of the cradles only serves to eliminate their competition, and paints our character the only real hope of liberating humanity from this dystopia, as a monster. I'm reminded of the Nietzsche quote, "Beware that when fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster. For when you gaze long into the abyss gazes also into you." This is the capitalist dystopia in Armored Core. A hopelessly nihilistic narrative in which nothing we do truly matters. Our freedom is an illusion created by the corporations. We are born into the game as a free mercenary. But everywhere, our choices are in chains. Going into Armored Core 6, we know that we will have the option of branching story paths in the game. But with the themes we already have from the trailers and interviews, are those even real options? We are named Raven, but also work as a corporate hound. The paradox of a free bird and a chained dog burns with this illusion of freedom. It is a powerful critique of late-stage capitalism and the dystopia we see developing around us each day in real life.